To today's lecture, Growing Alternative Futures. Urban agriculture provides visions of a utopia that has enabled city dwellers to grow alternative futures. In today's lecture, we will examine urban agriculture's potential for progressive futures and then provide some critical perspectives. So what is urban agriculture?
They started growing food on city rooftops, on freeway off-ramps, and even in their own front yards.
Urban agriculture can be defined as the growing, processing, and distribution of food and other products through intensive plant cultivation and animal husbandry in and around cities. Urban agriculture has been touted to be able to address urban food provision and food rights, individual and communal health, urban and peri-urban environmental quality, and socio-environmental justice. Urban agriculture projects also provide avenues to challenge land use management and ownership, reinvent urban landscapes, and provide alternatives to the capitalist neoliberal organization of urban life. Urban agriculture has blossomed worldwide, encompassing more than 800 million people and producing 1/5 of the world's food. A possible reason why urban agriculture has gained such popularity in recent years would be its potential to utilize urban space productively. The following video will illustrate why this is of growing importance.
Okay, so that means the amount of land needed to grow food for the entire world is about the size of South America.
Right, and that's just for crops. The amount of land used for livestock is actually way more than that, about the size of Africa.
And the global population is supposed to hit 9 billion in the next 40 years. And that means we're just gonna have to keep using up more and more land.
Yep, and keep in mind that 57% of Earth's land is uninhabitable, and about 3% is developed urban areas.
So when we hit 9 billion, that's a 25% increase. And if we continue to grow our food in the same way,
We're gonna run out of space real fast.
With an impending lack of land, urban space should and can be utilized to produce food for city dwellers. Urban agriculture is thus able to allay fears of food insecurity and achieve social and environmental goals. However, we should move away from such Panglossian understandings of urban agriculture and instead move towards developing more critical perspectives. Contrary to popular belief, urban agriculture comes with its own set of challenges, and it should not be the only way forward towards a progressive urban future. In our lecture today, we attempt to address two key questions, specifically with reference to the readings assigned. A. How do Bourne and Purcell use scale as a critique of urban agriculture? And B. In what ways can Mina and Hoover's article support Bourne and Purcell in saying urban agriculture might not bring about social justice? Firstly, we will discuss Bourne and Purcell's paper with regard to the local trap. The first critical perspective of urban agriculture arises from the idea of the local trap. The local trap refers to the tendency of food activists and researchers to assume that something is inherent about the local scale. In the context of urban agriculture, it would be that the local scale is desirable and preferred to larger scale food systems. Here, we argue that the motivations for urban agriculture are misguided by the local trap. Although urban agriculture attempts to challenge the unsustainable, globalized, and mass manufacturing of food products, it falls into the trap of assuming that the local is inherently good for both the environment and the community. Local-scale food systems are equally likely to be as unjust, unsustainable, or insecure as national or global-scale ones, and evaluating its benefits require more digging beneath the topsoil. The popularity of urban agriculture projects aiming to relocalize food system production and consumption has prompted our group to use Bourne and Purcell's paper to illustrate how they fall into the local trap. Bourne and Purcell compare the environmental cost of local rice production with the environmental cost of importing rice in Texas. As urban agriculture emphasizes the importance of locally grown produce, it will push for the consumption of Texas-grown rice in hopes of reducing the carbon footprint. However, the process of growing rice in Texas would require immense water pumping and subsequently groundwater depletion. Bourne and Purcell thus argue that determining the most sustainable method varies due to the complexities in determining the environmental impacts of local food systems with regard to global ones. Thus, urban agriculture should not always assume that the local is always better, and instead consider the wider impacts of growing crops locally. The emergence of the local trap is also due to the conflation of globalization with capitalist food production systems. Changes in agricultural production have resulted in the intensification of the industrial capitalist nature of food production. This has increased injustice, environmental degradation, and food insecurity. the capitalization of agriculture, driven by globalization, has resulted in the assumption that globalization and capitalism work hand in hand. As a result, resistance to exploitative and environmentally damaging capitalist food production systems has emerged through the positive valorization of local food systems. This is a manifestation of the local trap, assuming that the local scale is the best because it is perceived to rule out capitalistic forces. Our next critical point will highlight how urban agriculture may result in impacts that echo that of capitalism. Social injustice. Urban agriculture has been lauded for its perceived benefits to community development, an increased sense of belonging, citizenship building, empowerment and self-reliance, among many others. These benefits have been studied and found to apply to coloured and low-income communities as well. However, are the fruits of urban agriculture always sweet? This brings us to the next critical evaluation of urban agriculture, with regard to its aims of achieving social justice through promoting social inclusion. In some cases, urban agriculture may actually result in social exclusion. We have chosen to focus on Mina and Hoover's paper on Philadelphia's urban agriculture scene and how it has resulted in forms of social exclusion, contrary to its goals of promoting community development. Mina and Hoover found that many community gardens in Philadelphia are initiated by the or underemployed who want to grow their own food. The primary recipients of the produce are lower and middle income households. Community gardens were also found to be economically accessible to neighborhood residents. However, just like how urban agriculture initiatives fall into the local trap, advocates of the movement often uncritically accept the belief that urban agriculture brings about social justice and neglect to dig deeper to uncover instances of social injustice, as Mina and Hoover have done in their research. Most community gardens remain fenced to protect valuable produce. As a result, this limits its accessibility to a selected group. Although urban agriculture aims to bridge the food gap, it has resulted in lower-income residents who require access to healthy and fresh produce the most to be excluded from urban agriculture initiatives. This is because the gardens, requiring a large investment of gardeners' time and efforts, are mostly member-only. Lower-income residents are then excluded from these gardens due to the fact that they have multiple jobs and are unable to afford the time to commit to such projects. Although the main racial group in Philadelphia is black, it is mostly the white population who are active in urban agriculture. One white garden organizer sees urban farming in Philadelphia as a white top-down movement that is run by young white people, unintentionally excluding a non-white population. Mina and Hoover found that this could be due to Philadelphia's systemic and historical racism, resulting in black perceptions of urban farming as a throwback to slavery. As urban agriculture gains further traction in the narrative of the developed city's urban strategies, its advocates believe that it is the solution to the various problems faced by today's developed society, such as rising food prices, unemployment, and unhealthy lifestyles. Farm Urban, a group of bioscientists based in the University of Liverpool, aims to encourage urban agriculture to become the blueprint of and pathway towards Liverpool's future. Farm Urban has continuously explored new and novel forms of urban agriculture that can be intertwined seamlessly into the structures of cement and concrete. Most of the projects are still ongoing and are represented by artists' impressions, emphasizing on their roles as Liverpool's blueprint into the future. Urban agriculture is also present in developing countries and may even constitute a larger part of the past, present, and future in the urban lives of their people. However, rather than focusing on community building of civic-mindedness, developing countries engage in urban agriculture purely for survival. Studies of urban agriculture in developed countries largely focus on its environmental and social benefits, whereas in developing countries, the focus is on development potential and food security. For these people in the developing nations, urban agriculture is an answer to very basic problems that they face, such as lack of food, malnutrition, and poverty. However, the growth of megacities and increased rural-urban migration in developing countries has made the identification of urban agriculture more complicated. Secondary towns and the spread of urban settlements into rural areas have blurred the binary, lending ambiguity to the definition of urban agriculture. To conclude, in our lecture today, we have introduced urban agriculture as a way of developing alternative urban futures, as well as the critical perspectives crucial to understanding urban agriculture. We'd like to ask two more key questions relating to the entire module to wrap things up. Firstly, how does urban agriculture reflect or draw upon other topics learned in the module? and what kind of progressive imaginings motivate urban agriculture activities, and/or what kind of dystopian futures seem to necessitate such action.